Morning, America, and a good one at that. I'm Alicia Shields.
And I'm Karen Michaels, here to tell you what you need to know when you need to know it.
Today we'll be covering a lot of different topics, including the Red Scare with Ry Ryans, then on to the topic of the quota system with Desiree Jones. And Emily will be here to tell us what plagued President Harding, along with our own stories about automobiles and superficial happiness.
Superficial's right. Banks are closing, stock markets are crashing, and we're all getting worried. Our own president promised a chicken in every pot and a car in every garage. Before he was elected, everything was great. But now, not only is a car missing in some garages, but some families are missing a house to live in.
So people are just losing their houses.
Yeah, because people are losing their jobs and they don't have enough money to support their own family.
So are you basically saying our happiness is fake?
Not exactly. It's just that everything was going so great and now everything's crashing at the same time.
Well, why isn't President Hoover doing anything about this?
We all know his philosophy. What is it called?
Oh, rugged individualism, where he thinks people should help other people with no government involvement, right?
Oh, that's exactly right. That's why. He doesn't think that that's the government's job. He thinks that people can fight for themselves.
Well, that's scary.
Oh, scary? That reminds me of our next topic, the Red Scare.
What exactly is the Red Scare, Ry Ryans?
Well, Shields. Whoops. The Red Scare was a pivotal moment in our history, where our fear caused many deportations and incarcerations and caused immigrants' rights to come to a crashing halt.
Well, what caused the Red Scare?
Well, there was a communist party in America, but it became a big issue when dozens of bombs were sent to many political figures and government housings.
Can you break that down for us?
Well, overall, this caused high tensions between nativists and immigrants.
How so?
Well, Attorney General Palmer targeted many immigrants to be arrested and deported.
Did they do anything wrong?
No, they were just persecuted by the Attorney General for having different views, and these persecuted were denied their civil rights. And now there's talks of restricting immigration to this great nation.
I hope they don't deny immigrants access to this great nation.
Well, thank you, Ry Ryans. What a crazy concept. So I've heard that America is keeping track of how many people immigrate to the United States.
That's exactly what Desiree is here to talk to us about. Now to Desiree with the causes and effects of the quota system.
Causes of the quota system.
Well, after World War I, people were exhausted, stressed, and the soldiers were coming home and taking their jobs back. And nativism emerged, and so did immigration. Now the natives believe, keep America for Americans.
Well, what caused us to think that?
Well, this was from the Red Scare. The idea of the quota system was to set a limit on the number of immigrants entered in the U.S. every year.
What were the effects?
Less immigration is the obvious outcome, but with this, we also discovered that the less native communities came about.
Well, thank you, Desiree, for that.
Special guest today, Emily Shearhart, who will talk to us about the Ohio gang and their scandals that plagued the presidency of Warren G. Harding. So, who is this Ohio gang?
The Ohio gang was a close-knit group of President Harding's that were appointed to his cabinet during his time.
If they were political figures, how did they corrupt the outtake of the White House, and what scandals did they perform?
They committed multiple crimes during the term of Harding, who was also drinking and going against prohibition in the White House. They committed fraud, graft, bribery, blackmail, extortion, bootlegging, jury tampering. Also during this time, multiple suicides occurred. The families and friends of these people claimed none of them were ever depressed or suicidal, and no notes were left, but all of the papers in their offices were carefully burned. There was no official say, but it's almost clear that a foul play was played here.
So, fake suicide showed up?
It was not official that they were all fake, but many of these cases were under suspicion.
Did any of them ever pay jail time?
Yes. The most prominent scandal that took place was the Teapot Dome scandal, which jailed the first official in history, Albert B. Fall.
What was the Teapot Dome scandal?
Fall was the Secretary of Interior and was in charge of a large oil mass set aside for the Navy. Under the radar, he made a deal with two rich men, giving them permission to pump oil and seal it as their own. In return, he was paid with a large herd of cattle and $325,000. Later on, once it was brought up to the attention of the deal, Fall was charged with fines up to $100,000 and 1 year in prison.
Was he the only member found guilty of these crimes?
No, they were all convicted of crimes in one way or another. With Harding's drinking, Jesse Smith and Charles Kramer were found guilty of bribery. One man, Charles Forbes, was found with $250 million in kickbacks and bribes, and Thomas W. Miller was charged of fraud. In fact, Jesse Smith was found guilty and banished from Washington. Then he committed suicide. They were also known for gambling in the White House.
Oh wow, that must have been a lot to take for the Ohio gang. Well, thank you, Emily. Now let's move back to Karen.
Alicia, that's so kind of you, but I believe that your topic's next. What's your topic?
Automobiles.
Oh my, I just got the cutest little car the other day.
Yeah, well, most Americans have cars by now. As a matter of fact, the Ford car has just gone down to $295.
Well, how come? What does that do for us?
The impacts of the Ford meant that others had to produce their own cheap cars to compete. Motels, garages, and restaurants all sprung up, and these outlets employed people and they got paid.
All because of cars?
In a way, people saw the opportunity to visit new places because they could get there so cheaply and easily.
Oh, so now everybody's interested in buying cars, huh?
Exactly.
How cool is that? So you said that motels, restaurants, and garages all sprung up due to cars?
Yes, ma'am. People figured that if people were driving around everywhere, they would get hungry and would need to stop somewhere to eat.
Well, what about garages and motels?
The explanation to garages is simple. People need somewhere to keep their car. And motels were around the same reasoning as restaurants. People would just be driving around, get tired, and would need something to eat and rest.
Fascinating. Well, the people of America have learned a lot this morning.
Yes, they have. We have gone over the 5 different topics today. Our superficial happiness, the Red Scare, the quota system, the Ohio gang, and the effects of automobiles.
Thank you for your time. We'll be back after these short commercials with the weather. For weather with Sunny Day.
Hi America. We're gonna get some low pressure and then there's gonna be snow in Michigan.
I'm sorry, America. We seem to have some technical difficulties.
Hey, America.